Can you imagine being a woman who had two hot guys who are totally madly in love with you? Claire Elizabeth Beecham Randall Fraser. She's one lucky lady. Yes, Claire's now married in the 1700s, but that doesn't mean that her husband in the 1940s, Frank, has forgotten about her. In fact, the opposite is true. He's been looking everywhere for her, going to the police station every day, trying to find his wife, who just vanished into thin air. Obviously, that's not the way people usually disappear, but in this case, it's actually true. Frank remembers the Highlander who'd been standing outside her bedroom window, and so he starts making posters of him, too. The police tell him the obvious, that Claire probably ran off with her new lover, and Frank is indignant.
My wife is not with another man.
She actually is with that Highlander, and she's having sex with him right now, and she really likes it. The show comes back to the 1700s. We see Claire and Jamie enjoying some time alone together and holding hands, and then a big arrow comes right by their head. Oh, that arrow's just from a friend, Hugh Monroe. This poor guy had his tongue cut out by the Turks, but somehow Jamie can understand every non-word the guy says. And his words are very important to Jamie because it's a way that he maybe can get the price lifted off of his head. Hugh doesn't just leave it at that though. He even gives Claire a beautiful gift, a dragonfly in amber. This episode is full of fighting. Lots of battles, personal fist fights, just lots of violence in general. And while we do see Claire without her shirt on, sadly we don't see Jamie. Boo. Now for my top 5 standout moments from this episode. 1. Claire and Jamie are on the hill talking about chemistry, and Jamie's curious if it's normal to have this kind of intense attraction with someone.
No, this isn't usual.
Has Claire forgotten Frank, or is it just really that much more intense with Jamie? 2. Frank feels hopeful when he meets a woman in a bar who tells him that she knows where the Highlander is. She tells him to bring the $1,000 and she'll deliver the Highlander. He shows up, Sally's there, and then he is accosted by men who just want to take his money. Wild Frank comes out. He hits him like a crazy person. Sally has to stop him, and when she tries, he grabs her by the neck and slams her up against a pole. And it sadly reminds me of some scenes of his ancestor Blackjack Randall. I hope that Frank was just acting out of grief and that this isn't the start of some really bad life choices. Don't be like Blackjack Randall. 3. I've decided I want to have Highlanders for friends. Not only do they care about you, but they also teach you self-defense. And I didn't know a guy shooting a gun could be adorable, but Ned Gowan, that was cute. Anyway, after a battle where Claire is kind of sent off with a giant dagger sword to protect herself with and hide behind a bush, men decide it's time to teach her a little self-defense. Murtaugh's not so excited about it. He thinks she should just use poison, but Dougal's like, she needs something to actually use in a battle. Poison takes a while to work. This isn't the Princess Bride. So the men give her a skein-doo and teach her how to kill somebody. 4. Jamie and Claire decide to get it on in Nature's bedroom, and while they're enjoying themselves, they are accosted by some redcoats with a gun. One guy pulls Jamie up and puts a gun to his head, and then the other guy goes to rape Claire. But she just had that self-defense class and her skein-doo is handy, so she grabs it and gets him right in the kidneys just like she'd been taught. This gives Jamie a moment to get off the other redcoat who's got him at gunpoint, and the two run away together. But Claire is in shock. I mean, she just killed somebody. But this just brings again to her mind that she's forgotten about Frank and her mission to get back to her own time. 5. Frank is at the Reverend's house and he overhears Mrs. Graham imploring the Reverend to please let her tell Frank about Craig Nadun and the witches. So Frank comes in and asks for the information, and she tells him that she might have just gone through the stones to another time. Frank says he doesn't believe it, packs up his stuff, and goes to get in his car, but he just can't help but stop by Craig Nadun. While Frank is at the stones, Jamie has just told Claire to please promise and stay right here until I come back.
Promise me, Claire. Swear you'll be here when I get back.
She promises to stay, but then she sees the stones and goes nuts, running straight for them. And they start calling to each other, and she can hear Frank, and Frank can hear her, but then the redcoats come and snatch her up. The episode ends with Claire being carted off to Fort William, where she's going to talk to Captain Blackjack Randall again. Not good. She remembers some information that Frank had told her about the Duke of Sandringham, and tries to bring that up to try to put him in a corner. At the end, he has her down, bent over a table, about to rape her. And then Jamie is in the window with a gun. But then that's it. They just leave us there at the mid-season finale with a major cliffhanger. But what have you thought about the series so far? If you read the book, are you happy? Now we have to wait until 2015 to find out what happens next. In the meantime, I'm here for support if you need me.